All right, here we are. It is Monday, November 11th. Thanks for joining me. Now, I'm not going to talk much about the next 7 days because we just have way too much warm air in place, and the Arctic door simply isn't open right now, at least for the next 7 days. But I do want to focus on the time period from about November 18th or 19th through November 25th, 26th. What you're looking at now, this is the GFS, the American Model Computer Guidance. And of course, we're looking at 500 millibar height anomalies at about 20 to 25,000 feet in our atmosphere. And I'm going to put this into motion for you, and I want you to focus on what's happening up here in northern Canada and the Arctic regions, and then what's happening out west here in the western US. Look at these blue areas in both of those areas that I highlighted. And we're really going to key on what's happening up here. Watch what happens over the next 7 days. Those lowering heights up there actually turn positive. And look how it's actually dramatic, quite dramatic, how positive these heights turn up here, which means there's going to be a huge ridge or a blocking high pressure up in northern Canada and the Arctic regions. And that is going to effectively force Arctic air south into the United States. And now look at what's happening here in the central portion of the country, in western sections of the United States. This is a large, massive trough that increases in intensity as we go through that 19th through the 22nd time period here on the GFS computer model guidance. And that storm system, or at least that deep cutoff trough, sits in place, if you were to believe the GFS computer model guidance, during that period. Long story short, this type of an environment with amazingly high heights and thicknesses up in Canada and then lower heights here in the United States is a classic signature for a major winter storm over a good chunk of the United States. And we will have to see if that's going to include Minnesota and Wisconsin. When you look at lower level temperatures in the atmosphere, this is at about 5,000 to 7,000 feet. Look how warm it is, at least to start off here the next 2 to 3 days. It is way too warm here in Minnesota and Wisconsin, in the upper Midwest, for any type of wintry precipitation. That's why we're likely going to get rain on Wednesday. And that warmth just continues even into this weekend. So no worries this weekend at all for wintry weather. But watch what happens as we get into later next week. And look at this massive area of cold air that gets forced down into the United States while it remains unusually warm up in northern Canada. Again, those are those heights, those heights and thicknesses that are increasing over Canada that is forcing down Arctic air into the United States. My fear is that Arctic air is just going to sit in place for quite a while over the United States. Almost the last 2 weeks of November, I will not be surprised if much of the United States has below or much below normal temperatures. Hence the reason why I'm worried about a major winter storm across a good chunk of the U.S. during that period. Now, let's look at the European guidance, of course, because you know how much I trust the European guidance. This is a jet stream, the River Vara, at 30 to 35,000 feet. And look at how the jet stream is way up in Canada here for the first 3 to 5 days here of the period. We get this one trough that moves through on Wednesday, hence the reason why it's likely that many of us are going to receive a decent rain, a cold rain on Wednesday. Again, the jet stream remains north of Minnesota and Wisconsin as we head into this weekend, so no worries about wintry weather this weekend. But watch what happens right at the end of the European guidance's period. This is probably would be next Wednesday, so about 8 to 9 days now in advance here. But look at this major trough that develops over the Intermountain West and into the Plain States. Now, if we were to extrapolate this and move another day or two further beyond this graphic here, you would probably see that this trough is going to deepen over the central or the heart of the U.S. That's going to put us in a pretty good position for precipitation. And of course, the question will be, is that going to be rain, snow, ice? What's it going to be? It's too early to tell. But this is another perfect example of at least the potential for a major winter storm over the heart of the United States. And we will have to see if that's here in Minnesota and Wisconsin. We'll have a much better idea of that as we head through this week. All right, here's your trigger graph. Look at this. The temperature line here is well above the freezing mark. So I am not worried through this weekend about any wintry precipitation. But be prepared, of course, as we head into later next week. And then here's your rain, a real good shot of rain opportunity for it on Wednesday. It should be widespread, but then after that, dry. So if you still have some outdoor work to do or to accomplish here over the next 7 days, this coming weekend, later this weekend still looks pretty good for that. And then, of course, all eyes will be on next week. All right, thanks for joining me. We'll have more for you this week.